Hey, welcome to this month's Safety Net. You know, we have here at the Ohio State University and the University of Rio Grande a variety of different educational programs, and one of the educational programs is Safety Net. And each month on Safety Net, we try to provide a variety of different safety issues, and it's a great lineup that we have today. Scott Borden, who's the police chief, University of Rio Grande campus police chief, is going to be talking with two individuals from the Ohio Highway Patrol. We're going to be talking with, and he's also a host here, Barry Call. Barry Call is a lieutenant at the Jackson Highway Patrol. And then we have Shawn Kelley, Sergeant Shawn Kelley. He's going to also be talking. I believe he's from the Jackson area. And they're going to be talking about what it is to be a highway patrol person. What do they do? I know that if you've traveled in the state of Ohio, you see Ohio highway patrol persons out on the road keeping us safe. Oftentimes they respond to accidents, or unfortunately sometimes they stop us from going too fast, so that way we don't injure ourselves. But they do much more than that. And with the Ohio Highway Patrol system, I think it's one of the best in the country, but that's just my opinion. So without further ado, let me again introduce Barry Call, Lieutenant Barry Call. He's to my immediate left. And then Shawn, Sergeant Shawn Kelley. Welcome, gentlemen. It is great to have you here.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Let's start out with Sergeant, why did you get involved with the Highway Patrol?
Well, I didn't really grow up wanting to be a police officer or imagine myself being a police officer, but I did grow up with a pretty strong belief system in that God puts us all on a certain path and holds you accountable to how you act on that path. And 21 years later, this is the path that I found myself on.
And how about you, Barry?
Kind of similar to Sergeant Kelley. I didn't picture myself growing up as a young child being a police officer. The older I got, and I was able to be around some of the troopers, 20-some years ago when I came on, and they were very impressionable to me. Wanted to make a difference, saving lives, making traffic safety, making it safe to travel on the highways. And I was fortunate to be around those individuals, and fortunate enough to make it through the process and graduate to the academy. And almost 27 years later, still here today.
Hello, my name is Scott Borden, campus police chief here at the University of Rio Grande, going on 8 years. Prior to that, I was 33 years in the Highway Patrol, worked with these fine gentlemen over here. Very honored to have been a part of what they're a part of, and when I see them, it makes me even prouder of my background and what got me here. One of the things I wanted to sort of discuss, I think the main topic we want to get to a little bit later, is the opioids and the drug problem. Is just, it's not only area-wide, but it's national-wide, is just the hierarchy of a highway patrol post. Because even this morning I had some people ask, the rank structure and how things work in the highway patrol. And maybe Barry is the post commander of the Gallipolis post, and maybe if you could just break down, and a lot of people, it's funny, just my travels in the highway patrol when I was in the rank I was, is just even people in the government, some of them didn't really know what the structure of a patrol post was. So just if you could break down, your Gallipolis post.
Each patrol post has a post commander. Most patrol posts have a minimum of 4 sergeants, depending on the size of the post and the area that they cover. May have more than 4 sergeants, depending on the troopers. Gallipolis, we have 4 sergeants, and we have 14 troopers. 14 troopers at Gallipolis post is a rather large number. It's manpower-wise, it's the highest we've been for quite some time. But it's beneficial because those guys have made an impact working the roads, not just going out and giving people traffic tickets for speeding or whatever it may be, but they're making an impact on what Chief mentioned just a minute ago about the drug epidemic we have in not only in Gallia County but across the whole state and country.
Well, and you know, that breaks down the Gallup list post, but there's 10 districts broken up. There's 88 counties in Ohio. There's 10 districts. This district is called District 9, the Jackson district area. And what was it, the Athens Post, the Gallup list post, the Jackson Post, Ironton, Chillicothe, Portsmouth.
Yes.
Did you guys get to sneak Marietta now, I guess?
No, Marietta is part of the Cambridge district
Okay.
now.
So each, like this district has 10 counties and they have 6 patrol posts. Some of the posts handle an extra county, like the Gallup list post takes care of Meigs County, the Jackson Post takes care of Vinton County, the Athens Post takes care of Hocking, and Ross County takes care of Pike County. So that's the hierarchy of a district, and then you have the state leaders. But there's also some specialty positions. You have commercial people that handle commercial enforcement and school bus inspections, things like that. Then you have a criminal patrol aspect, which is something that when the patrol really began the focus of trying to get these drugs off the roads so that they don't get into schools, they don't get into the neighborhoods and things, they started criminal patrols. Sergeant Shawn Kelley is the assistant commander for the 10-county area, Jackson area of the criminal patrol team. And then Shawn, if you could just sort of break down how many people you got and generally what they do.
Sure. In the Jackson Criminal Patrol section, I'm fortunate enough to have 5 canine handlers with 5 canines, and I also have 2 interdiction officers that work all over our communities in southern Ohio, and sometimes are farmed out to other parts of Ohio as well.
You know, it's just, you know, you can't watch the news, any local news station, and not see, you know, people ODing and, you know, the arrests that are made. You know, here from the university perspective, you know, knock on wood, we've been very, very lucky in the almost 8 years I've been here. We run in just a little bit of marijuana, but luckily, you know, the heroin and the cocaine and stuff like that, it is all around us. It's around in the county and around in the area, but we're very lucky that we've not had any ODs on campus but you know, things at campus police chief you worry about active shooter, you worry about sexual assaults, and you worry about drugs getting to your students, and you know, you sort of live in fear that, you know, something's going to happen, one of the kids are going to OD. There are a lot of people that try to interact or intercede so that these drugs don't get to our college kids, other just normal citizens. You have sheriff's departments that do a great job, Gallia County, Sheriff Woods in Meigs County, Sheriff Frazier in Jackson County, the Vinton County. All these sheriff's departments do a great job, this local city police, the task force. But a lot of it is the interdiction that the troopers do on the main highways, and they're just able to get these drugs before they can get into the hands of the distributors. So, Barry, if you can just sort of maybe talk about what your guys have accomplished and just what your leadership role is getting your guys motivated towards that.
Sure. Fortunately, I have, like I said before, I have 14 troopers and 4 sergeants. My 4 sergeants are 4 very strong sergeants. They understand the mission of the Highway Patrol to go out and promote traffic safety, and part of that is to remove the drugs from our highways. Along with that, you mentioned other agencies. You know, we have an excellent rapport and relationship with our local agencies, and the Highway Patrol, Gallia County, Meigs County Sheriff's Office can't do it themselves. We got to work together as a team to accomplish our mission. So with that being said, you know, we exchange information with each department, because we want to be the most knowledgeable as we can to remove those drugs from the highway. So you know, my guys, they're really engaged in our criminal patrol program, which basically revolves around removing the criminal element from the highway, regardless if it's drugs, stolen cars, guns, what have you. Our post has just excelled in this program the past 3 years. You know, we're standing number 8 in the state of Ohio. As the chief mentioned before, we had 88 counties in the whole state. The Gallipolis post is 8th in the state with criminal patrol points, which is amazing for me to say that. And I'm awful proud to say that, not just for myself, but for my guys back at the post who are doing the actual work. To be, you know, in the top 10 in the state of 88 counties, that's a positive thing, but it's also a little bit nerve-wracking too, because there's that much of it out there for us to interdict. So, you know, we are making a dent in the process, but there's still more work to be done. And it can happen any time of the day. It's not just doesn't happen on day shift or night shift or afternoon shift. It can be any time of the day that we come across people carrying drugs or stolen guns or stolen articles, where it may be. But you know, my guys understand that they also have another mission, is traffic safety. You know, we're leading our district in OVI arrests so far this year. Our safety belt arrest, you know, safety belt program is a big part of our program, our mission statement. You know, it's not like we like to write people seatbelt tickets, but seatbelts do save lives. And my guys are engaged in that. They understand the process. They understand the mission is not just to go out and every stop you make and get a ticket. It's about changing behavior, regardless if it's in regards to traffic safety or if it's in regards to removing the criminal element from the highway.
Well, you know, and that's what a lot of people don't really think about. They think you get a large amount of drugs, or you get a small amount of drugs and you're arresting people for drugs. But it's more prevalent than ever, and you probably have dealt with it more over the years since I've left, is, you know, everybody used to think of OVI and DUI as people that drink beer and whiskey and wine and they go out and they drive, but I think both of you have probably seen you know, just an increase in people being on opiates and driving while on drugs as opposed to driving while under influence of alcohol.
You know, as a division, we track our OVI arrests, whether it's just alcohol and drugs, or just drugs. All of our arrests this year are for OVI, and this number has increased each and every month. 56% of our OVI arrests have some type of drug involvement.
Well, you know, and I just tell you, the Highway Patrol's main focus is to save lives. I mean, they've spread out all over, you know, from doing stuff in the prisons, school bus inspections. They've got you know, traffic enforcement. They've got, you know, just a tremendously varied aspect of things that they do. But their number one goal since the day I started, and since these guys started, was to save lives. And especially with Sergeant Kelley's group with the canines, and just focused almost entirely on, because we've all, I mean, you've heard the thing and people say that almost all of us have somebody that's been affected by this. Last year about this time, actually today is her birthday, I lost a 25-year-old niece with a 6-year-old son to an OD. Other family members personally involved. So, you know, when we used to say, when there was a traffic crash and a fatal, that's a funeral for somebody. Somebody has lost a loved one, and so what you did is you tried to prevent those fatal crashes. And what Lieutenant Barry's troopers do, and what Sergeant Shawn's canine units and he does himself, is to try to keep it so the 25-year-old niece that I lost a year ago still has a mother, because if they can intercede those drugs on the highway before they get to those people, then that's a victory. And Shawn, if you can elaborate on sort of like what Lieutenant Call did, is about, you know, what your people do. I know there's some things that you can't get into, but sort of what you're seeing in this area, how you feel your people add to the safety of people traveling on the highways, and then maybe into what I'm talking about. You know, I lost a niece a year ago, is how you feel about that's your mission to keep that from happening. Sure,
Chief. I'm sorry for your loss, first and foremost. I'll never turn away an opportunity to brag about our people. I'd like to start by saying that a few years ago with the leadership and now our current senior leadership, they were selling traffic safety and looking beyond every stop. I bought it. Guys like me bought it. And that's where our shop is going, the direction we're in right now. My guys are criminal patrol units. They're very, very competent in every aspect, whether it's training their dogs or sitting for hours waiting on something that they know is coming, one or the other. But primarily, we are in the business of saving lives. And if that means stopping someone to simply educate them on the speed, why you should stop at stop signs, seatbelts. Seatbelts are an integral part of all of our mission. And to give you a little bit of an example, and I know I'm a criminal patrol guy, but traffic safety is paramount. With seatbelts, when you talk about risk, and I think Webster defines risk as an exposure to danger, and you want to remove those risks. By wearing a seatbelt, you remove so much risk from death in a crash. Some people don't think that when a car crashes, there's actually 3 crashes that take place. The car hits the tree or an object. The occupant in the car starts hitting components inside the interior, such as the console, the steering wheel, windshield, and then your internal organs will eventually, if the crash is violent enough, start to hit the inside of your rib cage. Now, if you wear your seatbelt, you can eliminate 2/3 of those risks. So taking a few minutes on the passenger side of a car to explain to someone that that is a very big part of criminal patrol, as it should be. When it comes to selling that traffic safety, my guys are looking beyond the stop very, very hard. They're asking a lot of questions that sometimes people they take them as kind of intrusive, but a lot of us are quickly able to determine that this isn't what I'm looking for. There's no criminal indicators here. This person needs to be educated about the traffic law that they broke and sent on their way. But other times, you know, the indicators are there that the narcotic trafficking is there, and it's not just narcotics anymore. It's other criminal activity, human trafficking, computer crimes, auto theft, the VIN flips that go on, the money laundering. I mean, there is so much criminal. It's not called narcotic patrol, it's called criminal patrol because criminals are there, and that's what we're after. But it starts with trying to make the roads safer by the people that are driving.
No, I mean, the support for police come and go, you know, during different periods of time, but I think you see a lot of positive statements now where people are grateful, especially when you see stuff. State Patrol has a Facebook site now. They didn't have that, you know, when I was on, and you see just a lot of positive comments about what you just said, is that people respect what you do to help keep their family safe and everything. And you know, and I think a lot of people are proud of the Highway Patrol when they see it, even just being citizens, just me being a former Highway Patrol and just what you do and what you lead your people to do. You know, we often hear the Homeland Security people say, if you see something, say something. Barry, if you could maybe, you know, if people see somebody weaving all over the road, they maybe witnessed a drug transaction in a rest area, something like that, what do they do?
The Highway Patrol has a number you can call. It's very easy to remember, pound 677. We don't care if you think somebody's impaired, somebody's driving erratic on the road, somebody's driving too fast on the road, or maybe you think you just did see a drug transaction go down at the 7-Eleven parking lot or at a rest area. Whatever you think it is, that's something. Usually, if something isn't right, if it doesn't look right, it's probably not right. And just call that pound 677 number. They'll get the information to the right patrol post. If need be, we'll relay it to the right agency, or if it's us that handles it, or a police department or a sheriff's department. But I would challenge you to go ahead and make that phone call. That way you don't second guess yourself, you know, 10 miles down the road or 10 minutes down the road, or it may be, thinking, man, I should have called, because timing is everything. The sooner you make that call, the sooner a law enforcement agency can go investigate it and possibly, you know, arrest an impaired driver, or remove narcotics from the highway, or maybe even save an endangered child that had been been involved in human trafficking. So I encourage you to, don't think twice about it. Make the phone call. Doesn't cost you anything, and we're more than happy to go investigate it.
Well, and some of those calls can be made anonymous also, correct? 'Cause I know a lot of people, when they call in, they're like, oh man, if I give my name, I'm going to have to go to court. These people are going to know who I am. Because you're more interested. Now, if the person wants to be a witness, that's one thing. But you will take the information anyway if they provide it, right?
That's correct. We'll take the information. And there are calls we get that they don't want to give their name, and we understand that, but we will still investigate it. But for the most part, particularly if it's somebody with their erratic driving, or they almost caused a crash, or they've almost hit the actual caller, most people are pretty, they're upset enough that, here's my name, here's my number. If you need more information, if you need me to come back and testify in court, typically they will give you the information. And if you don't want to, we still have an obligation to go investigate it.
Shawn, medical marijuana's in the news all the time. I mean, and I think there's a misconception that, believe it or not, just talking to college kids and other people is, if you got a medical marijuana license, you can drive down the road smoking a joint. Some people feel that way, or they have a fear of that people are going to be. So you might just emphasize it's still illegal in Ohio. Just the difference between the medical, the requirements, if you have, a vast amount of knowledge on that, or what you're aware of on that.
Sure. I mean, it's illegal in all aspects. And as far as consuming any kind of narcotic like that while or even prior to operating a vehicle is not going to be tolerated. The impairment happens very, very quickly, and it's the same as the person of years ago that was drinking a lot. You might not think, you hear the commercial now, buzz driving is drunk driving. It's so true, and it's the same with that marijuana. The thing that I'd like to emphasize is that all aspects of it are illegal right now. The last thing that I read, that Lieutenant Call and I had watched, it tells you that when it is legalized, that it's going to be in various forms. Edibles, that kind of stuff. To have a bag of weed going down the road, that's a long time away.
If you guys could, you always hear the term, especially kids will say, or somebody, and what's sad is even sometimes the parents will come and get them. They'll say, well, they was only smoking a joint. It's not like they were doing cocaine or they were shooting up heroin or something like that. But you guys are involved in traffic crashes, and I don't think people they realize if someone's drunk, they're going to be staggering and all this stuff. But if you could maybe relate your experiences of someone that you've stopped or seen that has been smoking dope or marijuana, is how it would affect their driving. Because I think people have this perception, I can just sit and smoke a couple joints and everything's good.
That's completely false. Are there the people out there that have a higher tolerance? Probably, but their decision-making skills are altered immediately. Maybe their physical coordination tests are fine. Maybe their speech is fine, but their decision-making is what's scary. And the decision-making could come into play as far as, well, do I really have to stop at this stop sign? Or I can make it around that car before that car gets, oncoming. Those are really poor decision-making skills, and marijuana, alcohol, heroin, any of that stuff's going to alter that. One hit, no, you're not. You'll never get me. No one will ever get me to believe that impairment doesn't start immediately.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize how long it stays in your system. Now, you have some marijuana today, that's in your system up to 1 to 2 weeks or so. I mean, it just...
Certain strands are definitely stronger than others, and we still measured in a nanogram level, and it's not unusual to see someone that's being honest with you that they haven't smoked in a while still come back at 10 to 50 nanograms.
Well, one thing I like to add is, people think smoking marijuana isn't that bad, but what I would encourage and for people to think about is, you start out with marijuana, the next thing you're going to do, you're going to try maybe cocaine, maybe methamphetamine. than heroin. I mean, it doesn't stop. You know, when somebody who has a drug addiction, they're always looking for that next high.
Well, and they have to pay for that high too. And like Sergeant Shawn said earlier, being criminal patrol is not just drugs, it's the other crimes that go along with it. You have to steal, typically, to get the money to pay for your drugs. You know, I always tell our kids here that when people break into your cars because you leave your car doors unlocked and stuff, and they're trying to steal your stuff, it's to pay for marijuana, sometimes pay for heroin. And, you know, that's one of the next residuals is they typically don't have the money to pay for the stuff, so they have to steal to pay for it. So
if you get someone like Lieutenant Call said, if you have someone truly chasing a high and they go from one strand of marijuana to maybe a little bit more potent strand, that's just not enough. So so they try an opiate, some type of synthetic opiate, a pill. Eventually that's going to wear off, and then they jump into some heroin. And then maybe the heroin starts to wear off, and then they start getting laced heroin with fentanyl. And then so many different compounds of fentanyl that are being cut into drugs now that a couple of granules will kill you. And people are willing to do it just to chase the high. They're willing to steal from their own family. And it's really not the drug abuser that's suffering as much as it is their family that's sitting around watching this person tear themselves down and destroy what, you know, they've probably tried to build all their life.
well, and most of the families will put up for it for a while, and then the problem is once they've cleaned their family out, they will move on to other places, people that won't be so forgiving. And
Yes, sir.
so looks like we're about out of time. I'm honored to have served with you guys. I'm honored that you guys continue to serve as I'm here and see you guys out. I think you guys, we could probably spend another hour on this sometime. I think Sergeant Shawn people could talk for an hour about their canine, so we'll bring you back and talk about your canine, and Lieutenant Barry Call has all kind of insight on this local area and traffic safety. And for University of Rio Grande, we thank you for watching.